Hi everyone, it's Becca from Scratch Magazine here. I hope you're all having a lovely Friday and enjoying this beautiful weather outside. And today I'm really excited to soon be joined by Alicia Humphreys. Now, she's one of our judges for the Scratch Stars Awards 2023, and she's also the owner of Pink Fox Salon Socials. Now, she's written a few blogs for us on scratchmagazine.co.uk, and she's also got some amazing social media offerings for nail salons just like yours. Now, we're going to be talking a bit about that today, what she offers, as well as how to grow your social media presence, and a very timely topic indeed, the big new social media app Threads. We'll be talking about that, so stay tuned if you want to hear more. So I'll add Alicia in now, and of course if you have any questions throughout, just drop them. Be available later for those that have to pop off. So hopefully Alicia should be joining us any minute. There we go. Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very good, thank you. I'm excited to chat today all about social media.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, I mean, it's been here for so long, but there's always room to talk about it. So first of all, can you tell us a little bit about your background and how you came to form Pink Fox Salon Socials?
Yeah, of course. So, bit of background about me then. So, for a long time, I was a beauty therapist myself. So, I actually started out just after my daughter was born, and I didn't want to go back to working in an office full time. And for some reason, I thought, beauty therapy would be easier. It wasn't. So I did that for a few years, worked in and out of a few different salons. I also worked for myself, worked from home, did mobile. So I did a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
And then in March 2020, I started my business. So I originally started as a virtual assistant, and transitioned over very quickly to just social media management. And then I rebranded this year actually to Pink Fox, just to make it feel a little bit more me, because I was a bit disconnected from the old business, and transformed into this Pink Fox, and decided that I wanted to work with solely those in the hair and beauty trade, because it's what I know.
I love that. I love that background. So I think that's so important to have that knowledge to bring in. So tell us a bit about what Pink Fox offers.
Yeah, so like I say, I mainly work with bigger salons and individuals as well, depending on what your needs are. As long as you're in the hair and beauty industry, I can help you. I offer sort of full social media packages, so it can be anything from posting to engagement work. I offer strategies as well, so one-off strategies if you've not got one of them. I also I can do audits. So if you've got you feel like you've got a good channel, but you're not quite sure where you can improve, that's kind of where I can step in and run a bit of an audit for you. And then I do a lot of one-to-one training as well. So for people that aren't quite ready to have a social media manager, or don't feel they need one because they've got it under control, but also need just a little bit of extra support, so I can then step in and just offer a little bit of one-to-one training as well.
I love that. It's so nice that you cater to everyone.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I love it.
Oh, that's so nice. So social media, what are people missing out on? What are nail pros specifically missing out on if they're not using it in the right way?
So I think if it's not being used correctly, you miss the opportunity to build some good relationships. Social media is very much, although it's nice to be able to promote your work, it's all very much about building relationships, because at the end of the day, if there's no relationship, people don't want to buy from you.
Yeah.
And sometimes what I see is people drop and go. So they'll post and they'll either disappear for weeks on end, or they'll post quite regularly and people comment, and then they're getting nothing back. So there's kind of no to and from. So I think if it's not being used correctly, you're missing the chance to build those relationships and potentially get those new leads in.
Yeah.
Also, it's free exposure. As long as you're not paying for ads, it's free exposure. You've got to get out there.
Exactly. I mean, as more people want clients through the door, it's such a great way to bring them in, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So social media can be a bit overwhelming, I'd say. I know a lot of nail pros I've spoken to feel like I don't know how to tackle this. What would be your top tips for kind of breaking it down and thinking, right, this is what I need to do?
I think first things first, start with a proper strategy. Again, as I said previously, a lot of people post and go, but they don't really post with any meaning.
Yeah.
So always think about what you're posting, and a strategy is a good starting point for that, because a proper strategy will give you an idea on what to post, who you're posting it for, what kind of areas you should be looking at, and things like that. So I would say, yeah, a good strategy, and also think about your target audience as well. I see a lot where people they just almost just post for everybody, and that's kind of not the right answer. You know, if you say to someone who's your ideal client, they say, well, everyone is not true. And I know that now, because I was one of those people at the beginning where I went, oh, I want everyone, I want everyone through my door, but it's not true. So you've got to keep that in mind as well, sort of when you're posting. And always, I could go on for ages about this, sorry. Or think about think about, you know, when you're creating your content as well, a call to action. So again, I see it quite a lot where people go, oh, I've used this colour and this and that design and so on and so forth, but then there's no, you know, what do your readers do next?
Yeah.
So they've read it and they've gone, fabulous, oh my god, I love it, I love that colour, I really want it, I want to book in with you, what do I do?
Yeah.
And although it seems obvious when you're used to using social media, it seems obvious. It's not obvious to everyone, and I think that's something else to keep in mind as well. Is what might seem obvious to you is not obvious to everyone.
That's very true, and I think, you know, like obviously working in the nail industry, we're all aware of, you know, how you need to book an appointment and stuff, but not all clients use social media and think, oh, there's a booking system at the link in bio, do they?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So make sure you cater into everyone.
Absolutely. And so you help at Pink Fox Salon Socials, don't you, with strategies like that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I can do anything like that. I'm very used to doing that for sort of nail tech salons, bigger salons, smaller salons. So pretty much across the board, really.
That's amazing. That's good to know. I hope everyone's listening to that. So tell us a little bit about this, because there's so many different social media platforms out there. I know that can be overwhelming in itself. What would you say each one has to offer? What are the main ones maybe that nail techs can take advantage of?
Well, I think, again, this comes down to who your ideal client is and their age range as well.
Yeah.
Because what we tend to find is Instagram, it tends to be more focused on the younger generation. I say younger, you know. Those, I think it's sort of those under sort of 45 to 50-ish tend to use Instagram a bit more. And then those in the, I don't like to say it, but you know, or the older generation as such, like to use, are more inclined to use Facebook to find things, to search for things, to save things. So it depends on who your ideal client is. So that's the first thing to keep in mind when you're thinking about which platform to use.
Yeah.
Because Instagram is great for building relationships, and it's great for becoming like a gallery of your work.
Yeah.
You know, you can put all of your work on there. It's very obvious. It's easy to see in the grid. So it becomes nice for that kind of thing, for showing off your work, and, you know, for getting different ideas for things as well. For me, if someone came to me, you know, if a nail tech came to me and they weren't on social media at all, I would say start with Instagram. That's the first place. That's where you're more likely to build up quicker. It's easier to build up on Instagram than it is anywhere else. Facebook is great. I tend to find engagement, again, it depends on your audience, but engagement tends to be a little bit lower on there. But Facebook is great for, you know, creating groups. So I've worked with people that have created Facebook groups for their, you know, their regulars basically, and on there they pop on their offers and things like that. So it's great for the sort of community aspect of things, I think. So if you're looking for a community where you can reach people easily, Facebook is probably the one.
Yeah.
I mean, let's say TikToks, obviously TikToks, you know, the thing at the minute. I love a good scroll on TikTok. Again, it's good for building business. I always think it's good for showcasing your work. Probably not always easy to get leads from TikTok. I think you're more likely to get new clients from Instagram than you are from TikTok, but it's good for showcasing your work and getting inspiration from other people and for other people as well. And then there's Threads, which we'll come on to in a minute. That's in a league of its own. But yeah, I think that's the main ones anyway.
Yeah, and what about maybe like nail communities? I know a lot of people use social media to connect with other nail techs. Is Facebook still the place for that, do you think? Or
I would say so.
Yeah,
purely for the group aspect. I think if you find a good group with some other nail techs in, then that's the place to be.
Yeah, perfect. And now I'm going to bring it up now, but Threads, it's a new thing. Everyone's talking about it. What do you think nail techs need to know?
I think with Threads, I've written loads of notes down on Threads. I was doing loads of research over the past couple of days on it. Just purely
like, oh, I don't know what's going on.
I downloaded it and I was like, oh, another thing for me to get distracted by. So it's a dupe of Twitter, let's say, and I think that will be very appealing to a lot of people because a lot of people are going off Twitter for one reason or another. So I think that'll be very appealing. I think what else is quite appealing is that it links to your Instagram as well, so it's very easy to pull all of those followers over. So, as a nail tech, I think it's great for business at the minute. I think if you're not on Threads, you should get on there and give it a go, just purely because everyone else is doing it as well.
Yeah,
it's the talk of the town at the minute. Everyone wants to have a go, so I would say get on there, post a couple of different bits. It might, if it's not for you, it might not be. It might be another distraction, another platform for you to scroll through. But I think, like I say, a lot of people are using it, so I do think it's the place to be at the minute.
Definitely. I think now's the time to experiment, isn't it? It's new. I've seen so many different nail techs posting completely different types of content, and I mean, I'm not sure which works best on the platform. So I guess now's the time to try.
And that's exactly it. I don't think there's an answer to that. Someone did ask me that today. Well, what should I post on there? And the answer is try everything.
Yeah.
And something will stick because it's so new. We don't know how it's going to work. We don't know what's going to work best or what's not going to work. So I think you've just got to go for it.
Yeah.
And just get posting on there. It's not something to be afraid of. I don't think you can't do anything wrong as long as you don't fully delete your Threads account, then, because it is connected to your Instagram, so that's something to be mindful of.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think just don't overthink it. And the beauty of it as well is you can cross post to Instagram, which is brilliant. So you can cross post from Instagram to Threads and the other way around, to stories and to your feed. So the possibilities there are going to be great, and it is a work in development. There's a lot to come because you can't search yet, so that's not great, and you can't use hashtags yet. But from what I've seen online, it's going to come, and it's going to come quick. So
yeah,
I think my advice is to jump on it and just have a go.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I've seen a lot of people posting what you were talking about earlier, the calls to action, trying to start conversation. I think it's actually really exciting for that as well, because everyone's there, everyone's ready to engage.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, amazing. And so it's only Instagram followers, Instagram users that can use that now, isn't it?
Yes, it is at the minute. Yeah,
hopefully that will change though soon. So going more general, this whole live is about how to grow your social media presence. What do you think what are the key pointers you give to everyone watching now to say this is what you need to think about going forward?
Okay, so some sort of key actions for growth are, as I've said before, having some form of strategy to work with. It doesn't have to be a full one if you're not ready for that, but just something, so that you're posting with purpose, basically, is what I say to people. So that's your starting point. Have your 3 to 5 pillars that you can kind of rotate your content between. And then once you've got that, you want to work with your captions. So think about what you're writing in there, make it interesting, make it engaging, and add a call to action. I feel like that's all I say because I see so many people not doing it. I'm like, call to action, tell people what to do. So that's your starting point. Yeah. So post with purpose. Think about your captions. Think about your call to action. Sometimes, if I'm struggling a bit, if I've got a bit of writer's block, I start with my call to action. What do I want people to do, and then almost work backwards from there. That's something that works for me from time to time. Some other things to think about are your engagement. So proactive and reactive engagement. So reactive engagement is reacting to things that have already happened, so responding to direct messages, responding to comments, things like that. And then proactive is going out and seeking people yourself. So, you know, commenting on people that you follow, comment on their posts, like some of their posts, just one or two at a time. If it's, you know, try not to do too many in a row for the same person. Personal preference, I find that quite spammy.
Yeah.
But, you know, so think about your proactive. I could talk for ages about proactive engagement, but, you know, think about that as well. Start working through some hashtags. So think about hashtags that your clients might follow, for example, or hashtags that you're...
But we've actually had a question about hashtags, which I think would be relevant right now.
Oh, yeah.
So do you recommend unique hashtags or generic, or both?
Both. So I would say have your own hashtag for your business, so hashtag business name, to make it easy to find you. And then so you can kind of work in levels. So you can have the more unique ones, and then you can kind of have your next ones up. So I live in Leicestershire, so I would use, for example, Leicestershire Nail Tech, for example. So then you can start to reach a wider audience, and then if you want to, depending on who you're trying to reach, you can go a bit bigger. So that's when you've got your nails of Instagram, nail inspo, things like that. But just be mindful that using those bigger hashtags means that your posts are more likely to get lost.
Yeah.
But also you don't want to go too unique, because people probably aren't going to look for that unique hashtag, if that makes sense. So it's about finding the right balance.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It's one is that I know of hashtags sometimes. I'm like, oh, and how many do you do? And it's hard to work out, isn't it?
Again, it's trial and error, because some people say use 3 to 5, some people say use the full 30. You just use as many as you want to use, and then shake it up a little bit is what I tend to do, and eventually you'll find the sweet spot and you'll find what works for you.
Amazing. This is a while back. Let me just scroll back. We had someone asking about Threads. If anyone have a link, Threads is just an app right now, isn't it? It's not online as such.
No, yeah, just an app.
Yeah, cool. Okay, that's good to know.
I think to search for it, when I downloaded it yesterday, I had to search for Threads Instagram or something like that. When I just searched Threads, it didn't bring it up for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, which was a bit bizarre. So I think it's like Threads Instagram or something to that effect.
I think I know what you mean, like connected to it. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
And so you've sort of mentioned this with the call to action, but what would you say are the main things that you maybe see nail techs do and you think, oh, stop doing that, like that they can take away from this live and think, right, I won't do that anymore?
So first thing I would say is not having your bio updated, and that's across your platforms. So it could either be outdated, sometimes I see it that it's just not relevant to the business at all, or sometimes there's just nothing in there. Yeah. When you use your bio, especially on Instagram, you want to make sure that it tells your followers straight away who you are and what you do.
Yeah.
And I also recommend as well, so you've got your handle, and then there's a section that says name. So in that name section, instead of putting your name, I would put in something that people search for. So I think mine says social media manager for salons, or something to that effect. Can't quite remember, but because that particular bit of text is searchable in the search function, so if someone was to search that, my account would come up. So that's just a tip as well. But something else that limits growth as well is, and I see this quite a lot, is posting things that are irrelevant to your business. So if I follow somebody, if I follow a nail tech, I am interested in their business and what they do. What I'm not interested in is something that's happened down the road or somebody else's business. I see it quite often where people will go, oh, this is my other business and I'm doing this, and no, that is a bit of a pet peeve for me. I'll follow you because I'm interested in your nail business or your salon or something to that effect. So like post about that, basically. And I do think that limits growth quite a lot, because people kind of lose interest and they go, oh, okay, well, actually she's posting about that random thing over there that's completely irrelevant. So I do, and that's quite a biggie for me. And like I said, bit of a pet peeve. But the other one, and as I've said it a million times, but it's having no strategy. It's such a big thing, and I know I keep banging on about it, but it is such a big thing. If you've got no strategy, or you're posting once a week, or you just post as and when you feel like it, you're not going to grow. It's a fact. It's just not going to happen. So you need to be structured. Posting, I would say, at least 3 to 4 times a week, ideally. Use your stories, use everything that's available on the platform. Use your stories, use your reels, whatever. Use everything that's there. Use your highlights, and eventually it will all start to gel together.
Yeah, I love that. And so going back to what you were saying about your pet peeves, people posting about irrelevant things. For those nail techs, I know we've had people before say, oh, you need to sort of show yourself on social media. People need to know who you are. What's the sort of line between sharing about your personal life and then sharing about your business, if you know what I mean?
Yeah, it is a fine line, and I always want to say people buy from people.
Yeah.
So, I would always say, if you're comfortable with it, have your face in your profile picture or somewhere on your profile so that people know who you are. Yeah. But I do think it is a fine line. For example, like I say, I follow nail techs because I want to see their work, because I'm interested in what they're doing, because I want to book with them. And, I enjoy seeing about their lives, and they're taking a day off because they've done this. I do that on my platform. The other week I was in Alton Towers, so I said I'm taking the day off. I'm in Alton Towers, here's my view. And that to me is okay, because it's kind of treading the line. But what I personally wouldn't want to see is people almost airing their dirty laundry, maybe a little bit. Or this has happened and I'm having such a bad day, and life happens. It happens. We all have bad days. It happens. But a lot of the times, whilst your followers are interested, they want to see the positive stuff. It's just a fact of life. People want to see the happy side of things. So I would say it's a fine line. I would say if you wanted to post your personal stuff, I would say 80% business, 20% other. Yeah. Essentially. So it is a very fine line. But again, it's personal to each account, and you will find that balance as you go along. Some followers prefer that personal aspect, some don't. So it is trial and error.
Yeah, and completely depends on your clients, I guess.
100%, yeah.
Amazing. And so we've had a few questions. So someone said, what's an example of a strategy? As someone else said, can you help with creating a strategy?
Yeah. So I could probably put something together, actually, but things to think about when you're creating a strategy is what you want from your social media. So what's the point of you using social media? What's the end goal? Yeah. Is it followers? Is it, engagement? Is it to get new leads? And I will say the answer really should be to get new leads or to get new bookings, unless you're sort of an influencer style account, because comments, likes, followers, they're all vanity metrics. They don't really mean anything. Yeah. What you want is the bookings at the end of it. So I would say consider that. So why do you want to be on social media? What's the point? I would then think about who your ideal client is. Think about who they are, what kind of platforms they're going to be using. There's loads of stuff out there. You can go super deep on that if you want to. But think about what kind of platforms they're using, what kind of things they would be looking for as well. What would they Google is always something I think about, and think about that. And then think about your content pillars. So what kind of thing do you want to post about? So obviously nail pictures would be one of them. Yeah. Another one could be, nail care or aftercare. And then another one could be, like an engagement style thing. So ask your followers questions. Would you prefer this? Do you prefer that? Here's a funny meme. Everyone likes a meme. You can't go wrong with a meme. So, you know, you have to think about that kind of thing as well. So I would also say that. And then on the back of that, you can then start to map out what kind of content you think your followers will find interesting and how often you want to be posting, and then also think about your hashtags as well. So there's a few different elements.
Yeah.
But initially, you know, start with why you're posting, who your followers are, and your content pillars, and then you can kind of work from there. Really, you can go really in depth, or you can do, you know, top level. It just depends on how deep you want to go.
Yeah, definitely, that's very true. And I guess everyone's goals will completely differ depending on that. Yeah, amazing. Well, is there any more insight you feel that anyone watching today needs to know before we go?
I think really the biggest thing is always keep your end goal in mind and keep your followers in mind as well. So think about what they want to see. If you're unsure, you can use your insights on Instagram and Facebook. So that's a good way of seeing what's gained some traction in the past. If you're not sure where to start, it's a good one for your strategy as well when you're creating that. But yeah, just, you know, always keep that in mind. That's your end goal. Don't be worried about what other people are doing. I think it's so easy to get sucked into this thing of, well, they've got more followers than me, or their post is getting more likes. That's great, but are they getting the bookings? That's, you know, that's what it comes down to. And try not to put too much pressure on yourself. I think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves when it comes to social media. We're worried about things not looking right, or what if someone doesn't like that? Don't worry about it. Just post it. You know, what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah.
Really, just go for it. Throw yourself out there, and if it doesn't work, you don't do that next time. You do something else. And you know, so you just have to learn from it.
Yeah, exactly. It's all trial and error, isn't it? Trying to work it out, and the algorithm changes all the time. You just got to try stuff.
Well, that's exactly it. What works today probably won't work in a month's time. So you just have to wing it sometimes.
Yeah, that's the thing. You can't get too stressed about it, because it'll be changing next week. So what can you do?
Exactly that. Yeah.
Well, we've had so many comments saying thank you so much for your fantastic insight and information. I think people have really enjoyed this and learnt a lot, which is fantastic.
Good. It's been really good to do. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us, and I'm sure we'll be in touch soon to talk some more about social media.
Fabulous. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.